In the last video, we started talking about Redux form. I now want to show you some of the documentation around Redux form because, like I said, I think that you're probably going to end up wanting to reference this documentation once you start working on your own projects. So we can find the documentation for Redux form at redux-form.com. I'm going to open up a new browser tab and navigate over there right now. Okay, so here's the documentation. Now I'm going to scroll down a little bit. You'll see that there is some start here, API, examples, and FAQ. By far, the most useful section here is the examples section. So I'm going to check out the examples. This is a list of different form types that you might want to put into your application. So there are very simple examples for a simple, straightforward form, for a form with some type of validation that is going to happen client-side inside of your app, for validation that is only going to occur when a user submits a form, and even, let's say, down here, initializing a form from state, which would be any time that we want to make an edit form. You and I are going to do that later on. And then you can also see a very useful one right here, probably the most useful example that you will probably want to reference at some point in time, depending upon the type of application you're going to put together, is a wizard form. Let's take a look at that example really quickly, wizard form. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down a little bit here. So this is the example right here underneath the section that says form. So if you want to, you could put in some value here. And then notice how there's a next button. So I can click next, and then I get prompted for some more input. I'll put that in, and you'll see that it keeps on running me through different steps inside of this form until eventually I get to submit. So this kind of wizard form right here is a very common thing that you see in a lot of web applications where a lot of different information needs to be picked up from a user, and you kind of want to display different questions all in a series in kind of like different pages of sorts. So again, I think that you might end up wanting to read about this wizard form approach at some point in the future when you start working on your own application. But again, for right now, you and I are going to be working on a little bit more simple, straightforward form. So for the most part, we are going to be following forms of the similar nature to this synchronous validation example right here. So if you want to, you can keep this documentation open as we work through our example and our forms. But absolutely, you don't have to. I'm going to essentially tell you everything that this documentation says. So you can always just kind of, follow along with me, and we'll do essentially the same exact thing that you see in here. Okay, so again, I just want to show you this documentation very quickly because I really expect you're going to reference this at some point in the future. Let's now take a quick pause. When we come back in the next section, we're going to start to set up Redux form inside of our project.